You're listening to the Sad Boy Podcast.
Yeah, sad boy.
Yeah, sad boy, yeah.
Very, very sad. Very sad.
Welcome back to the Sad Boy Podcast.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. I had something to say, but I forgot what it was, so it's okay.
It's fine. This is how our podcast starts, right?
Yeah, when I say something random, but I
Like
had
that
something
time
random.
you was talking about Braille.
Oh yeah. No, I don't have any random facts to say right now, so whatever.
True. Well, this episode, we actually wanted to take this episode and actually talk about, I guess, something more serious.
Yeah.
That's happening in the world right now and on social media, actually. And this is actually the this whole concept of cancel culture, and we're actually here to tell you guys how toxic we think it really is. You literally see it all over Twitter and apparently YouTube as well. Like literally someone says something that's against what others believe should be right, then they get attacked, hated on, and I think that kind of leads into some people who end up suiciding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well, it is a form of cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of these people, they're trying to do what's right by telling people what you said is not socially acceptable or whatever. But I feel like some of these people are kind of getting a bit out of control to the point where they're condemning others to death.
Yep.
And in my opinion, when you do that, you are no better than for example, the cop that killed George Floyd. You are no better. You are literally still taking a life from someone. Even if you didn't physically do it, your words caused them to do that. And a lot of these people will go around saying, words are very powerful. When it comes to the topic of racism, words are powerful. They can offend, they can hurt. Yet some of these people are still doing that exact same thing and hurting people for not stating, the norm, the common thought, right? So we're gonna kind of go through all these toxic things.
Sure. How about something small? Maybe the Dundas Street renames and Vaughn being renamed because they're named off of Henry Dundas,
Slave owners.
and
slave owners. I don't know who the Vaughn guy was. What was he named?
I don't know who his name.
I think racist and slave owners back then was kind of the same thing. Oh, Benjamin Vaughn.
His name was
Damn it, Ben.
Benjamin Vaughn, born April 19th, 1751, and died December 8th, 1835. Okay, he's a slave owner and was a known racist, apparently. But back then, it was the norm.
Yeah,
so was
obviously we're not saying these things were right back then, but if you think about it, at the time, they had to find a way to make money, right? Yeah. I'm not trying to justify this was right or anything. It's just trying to understand, the norm back then, because I feel like right now a lot of people are using this modern way of thinking and judging what people did in the past, which I think that's a bit drastic. It's fine if we judge it based on if they did it now, that's different, right? But these people did it hundreds of years ago, and our society wouldn't be where it's at without what they did. And yes, it's bad that we're living in a society that was built by slave owners, but at the same time, we're also living on a land that's not even ours. It's the indigenous people, right? So
yeah.
It goes far back, and I know a lot of people keep saying or they keep going after the whole racism thing, and then sometimes when they get very drastic, I want to get a bit drastic and be if you guys are going to keep complaining, then how about we all go back to where our ancestors came from, because this land is even ours. All of us are immigrants here. Well, and yet some we're still here enjoying
not because of choice, right? So but yeah,
I
get what you mean.
Yeah. Because even with all the statues stuff, people are saying statues are meant to glorify them as a person, right? But I think you gotta also think like, what was the intent of putting these statues up, right? Like they didn't put up a statue of Christopher Columbus because they were glorifying the fact that he slaughtered indigenous people. His statue was put up because he founded America. Like if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here. That was the whole point of his statue going up. And I get that he was a slave owner and all that stuff, but like I said,
owner,
that was the norm
murderer.
back then, right? Yeah, like
You
it was
can't put, like,
bad, but it's not even just them. Like even if you look at like human history in general, there's always been violence and war and everything, and we keep this history and we keep learning from it so that we don't repeat it. And I remember seeing someone comment, I think it was on Facebook, where it was a black person too. So he basically said like, he's totally fine with the statues being kept up because these statues are a reminder that we as a society has evolved so much since those times where black people aren't slaves. Society has evolved. And I get it. Like it still sucks that like, some people still have that racist mindset. Like, when you see like an Asian person, you don't think, oh, this person's gonna attack me. But then when you see a black person, you might think, oh, he might attack you. Like I get that racism is there. But at the same time, I don't think it's blame is fully on that person, because the way that they think is also influenced by how they were brought up and how his parents were brought up and so on, right? So obviously it's gonna take a long time to change these views, because I think I was talking to Cindy like about this a few days ago, and I said like, if we want all this racism stuff to end, it's going to take at least a few generations, because right now, like obviously Black Lives Matter. Yeah. Because like, Black Lives Matter has, they've protested for many years, right? They protested. I think the last time they protested was like 2016. It was like around there or something. And now they're doing it now. But the difference is that now, in terms of social media, the awareness is a lot greater than back then. So yeah, people are more aware of systemic racism and all that stuff now, and that's good. But no matter what, like in order to change these people's thinking, it'll definitely take a long time. Like one thing that I learned from psych is that it already takes so much effort to change your own thinking and your own habits. So what makes people think that it's that easy to change what other people think? And obviously, I'm not saying like don't try. Like obviously, try your best, but also understand that it is very, very difficult to change what other people think, because they have to figure it out themselves, even when it comes to these social things like racism. So, like with all that being said, like the next thing I was gonna say, like the word racism itself, I personally feel like that word is being thrown around way too easily, and this is gonna tie into cancel culture, because I've already seen a lot of celebrities who have done blackface many years ago, like literally in the early 2000s, right? And this was a time when a lot of these racial things, like they were wrong, but they were more acceptable because they were seen as comedy, right? And I'm pretty sure all of us, even the people who are complaining right now, I am fairly certain you all had laughed back then too about it.
In high school I probably would have laughed, or middle school at least.
Yeah, like we would have laughed. It's just like I said, society keeps evolving, and we now know that it's not right to laugh. But for us to condemn the people that did it back then, like there's no point.
Yep.
Like if you guys really want to say something, why didn't you guys say something back then? Why wait so many years later to bring it up? Like to me, that's just like, it's a stupid reason. Like obviously, I think I had a conversation with someone on Twitter where I basically said like, I feel like there should be like a limit on how far back people look into like whatever this person has done. Like let's say like, if they've done in the past decade, sure. But if they've done it like 30, 40 years ago, I mean, let it go. You don't know how that person has changed over time. If they've shown that they stopped or moved away from such quote unquote comedy in their eyes, then just leave it, right? But like back to like the whole racism thing, then how people throw it around quite a bit. Um, so there was an article about Master Chef Australia. Um, so I think her name was like Sarah Tiong or something. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember. But her article is basically saying that when she went to do an interview, the interviewer said ni hao, and she was kind of caught off guard. And then the interviewer was like, or is it le homa? So one's Mandarin and one's Cantonese. But she deemed it as racist because she's Malaysian. And when I read it, I wouldn't say that would be considered racism, because with racism, it's more of, well, at least like from my definition of racism, is more you're discriminating a race with a hateful intent. Like you absolutely hate it, right?
Yep.
So with her situation, how I read the context was more of, I think she was trying to appreciate the Chinese culture by asking if it's ni hao or le homa. But her fault is that in terms of a professional setting, yes, maybe she should have just used English, or at least asked her what her ethnicity is. Because I think that situation was more of that she's ignorant, where like she didn't try to understand what her nationality is or ethnicity is, and just automatically generalizing as, all Asians are Chinese. I think that's more ignorant and rude rather than racist.
Well, it's also like she's just trying to say hi in a language that she was probably fluent or like recognized in, but like,
yeah. Well, she
not.
said like she's not fluent in Chinese or any Chinese, right?
Yeah, I know.
But not everyone's gonna know that you're not fluent in it, right?
Yeah.
It's like how it's like a two-way street, right? Like how all Americans here will think like all Asians are Chinese, and just as how we think all white people are American.
Or
right, it's literally a two-way street. Like all the white people, I mean, they can be European, they can be Italian, Spanish, we don't know, but in our minds we automatically just think they're American. It's the same thing. It's a two-way street.
Well, and the interviewer was also just trying to say hi instead of like, well, the interviewer is not saying ching chong chang or wherever.
Because if she did that, then obviously that'd be racist.
That's
right?
Racist. That's racist.
Yeah. But to say like ni hao like as a greeting in someone's language, I don't think that would be considered racist. That is more of trying to appreciate someone's culture. Just like how, when I see Jorge, I say hola. Not to like discriminate, his Mexican heritage, but it's like, yo, like I actually like the language. I actually want to learn it one day, right?
Yep.
But it also made me remember, like, how during Chinese New Year, you have like people like Doug Ford or like whoever the MPs are, Premier, they would always have that Chinese New Year greeting to the Asian community, and they would say like the greeting, but like with a heavy accent, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the possibilities is that when they say it with their accent, it almost sounds like they're mocking us, but in reality, they are trying to be inclusive.
I mean, it's not like they want to make an accent on purpose. They're not even fluent in the language, right? So
which is fine, because hell, a lot of Asians here who grew up, they have, when they speak Chinese, they have an accent from here.
Yo, I have an accent
too. Yeah, even you do too, right? Like, does that mean like you're mocking the language? No, it's just you have an accent. Yeah. But I think I get that people could automatically think that it's racist.
Wait, if I go back to Hong Kong and try to speak to them in Cantonese with my accent, am I mocking them? No, I'm not.
They might just think you suck at Chinese. That's literally it.
I suck at Chinese.
Yeah, they're not gonna think you're mocking them. Like, that's why I said like the idea of racism, I think, is being thrown around way too much, and I think it's the same with the media and the news articles and everything. As journalists and the news, I think it is their job to inform and educate the public with their articles and everything, but the fact that most of them are more like, in the business sense, where they're purposely using idea and concepts of racism to draw in viewers and clicks.
Yeah.
They are actually, and they're doing what they're doing is literally dividing the people right now.
Yep.
Because like in the news and media, like it's not even just the racism, you know, like it's even like the
Yeah.
whole police situation. Like every article that I've seen from BlogTO that's related to the police, it's always trying to draw people in the comments to talk about how much they don't like the police.
Yep.
Like,
And then like you have posts of like maybe a cop doing, a generous thing, and then or like taking the knee or whatever, and then someone in comments would be like, "Yo, it's just propaganda. Don't believe it." Or
it's
I don't
that,
know,
or like I've even seen oh, it shouldn't be about the cops. Why are you writing about the cops?
yeah, like
And it's
I
like,
don't know,
wait,
maybe
no.
they're just good people. Like, come on.
Oh my god, you just made me remember. So, so when the whole defund the police thing happened, a lot of people were literally saying how like one bad apple soils the whole patch.
Yeah,
I don't believe in that phrase
I mean,
because
it can't really. It's like comparing apple and oranges. They're not fruits. We're not fruits.
yeah, and like one bad person doesn't make everyone bad. Because if we're going by that logic, then it's like saying because Hitler is bad, then all Germans are bad.
Yeah, and it's
Or
also
saying Trump is bad, then all Americans are bad, right?
yeah,
Like it doesn't work like that. There is good and bad in everything.
yeah, and it's also like there's different divisions, and the police force is pretty huge. So like,
Yeah,
if I'm a good cop and there's a bad cop in a different like division, I don't know him, right? How do I
yeah.
know
And
he's
like, why are
bad?
they being punished for it?
Yeah,
So that's why, like, I guess this is where I start coming to like the whole defund the police thing. I actually find this whole defund the police thing, like, just the title of it, very funny. Only because like the goal of all of this is for them to redistribute the funds of the police.
yeah,
But yet they're saying defund the police, and when you think defund, you basically means you're taking away the budget. And when you take away the budget from something, you're basically trying to get rid of it.
mm-hmm.
So it's sometimes funny to see when people say defund the police, and then someone comes in saying, "No, we should redistribute the funds," and then another person comes in, "No, no, 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 no. Defund the police doesn't mean abolish; it just means redistributing fund." And it's like you have such an easy way to cut out this confusion, but it feels like people are purposely putting that confusion in just for the sake of it. Like the whole
Who even
thing is
came up with
about
that term anyway?
I don't I don't know actually. I literally just remember I woke up
Yeah.
one day, went to work, went on Twitter, and I just saw defund the police, and I'm like, wait, so are we abolishing it? But then everyone's just like,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no,
what
no,
I
no, no,
thought
no,
too.
we're not abolishing. We're just redistributing fund. And it's like, well, why
Yeah,
don't you
that's what
just
I was
call it
thinking.
reforming the police?
I don't
Unless,
know. No one.
but I mean, that's how the media works too, right? They always have to use something negative to draw people in. It's like how if you are looking at the news, if you see a headline that says, um, you know, a puppy smiled compared to like a family was murdered. Like obviously people are going to click on the negative one.
Yeah, that's true.
People are
It
attracted to the
catches more
negative
attention.
headline. Yeah, so that's why I get maybe that's why defund the police is there. Um, but I'm gonna talk about the defund the police real quick. This is like a complete tangent from the cancel culture, but this is another thing I want to get off
Well,
my
it's
chest too.
kind of related because
Yeah,
defunding
actually, yeah,
is canceled,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah. Actually, no, yeah, that's kind of true. It does connect. Because ever since the George Floyd incident and all the other Black victims, rest in peace to all of them.
yeah,
Ever since all that stuff happened, everyone's been trying to cancel the police.
yeah.
So I remember, I think like a week or two ago, there was a female cop who went to McDonald's and her order took a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then she had like a mental breakdown on camera, and everyone started going like, if she's so emotional, then why would I trust her with a gun or whatever, right? But people only saw one side of that story because a few days before that video went up, there were cops in New York City who were poisoned by bleach. Like obviously, like we all found out like it was an accident because when it comes to fast food, obviously they were probably like trying to rush like the cleaning and everything. Maybe some bleach dropped in, right? Like it's not on purpose, but it doesn't destroy the idea that you never know if someone out there would actually do that, right?
Nope.
So like I get the paranoia that female cop felt, because I think even I would feel paranoid in that moment.
Yep.
Because everyone has this hatred for the police for some reason right now. But yeah, so yeah, like no one saw it from both sides, and sometimes when I comment on like Facebook stuff or Twitter stuff, like I try to explain, the middle ground, right? Like a story is never just black and white. There are always different sides to it, and I think if we as people only view one side and ignore all the other different possibilities and perspectives, we are just as ignorant as the people who are silent about oppression.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally the same thing, right? So, okay, with the police thing, I think John Tory said they're working to create like a police task force without weapons, which I think is a good first step.
Like towards like health checks and shit, right?
Yeah, kind of like that. I mean, in all honesty, you don't need a weapon to do a health check.
No, you don't.
But at the same time, you know that that girl from what university was it, from BC?
UBC.
Yeah, where like it was a wellness check, and then like the cop like basically like beat her up.
Yeah,
I mean, weapon or not, she still beat her up.
that's true,
right? Like it doesn't. I think people are still, they're not thinking through it thoroughly. Because when I looked at the whole concept of defund the police and redistributing the funds, so I have an economics background. I'm not saying like I'm like a master of economics, but I have been trained in thinking analytically from an economics perspective, right? So with the whole defund the police thing, if you were saying to simply redistribute the funds that the police currently have to social services, you will get the things you want, kind of, to a certain degree. So you'll get mental health experts and all that, but the thing is, just redistributing that fund is not enough for these people.
Yep.
Because you're talking about people's health, so you're gonna have, the government is gonna have to invest more money into this. And I think the analogy that I used was literally like, for example, it's like if I give Lucas a piece of bread and he keeps eating it, and then he's full, right? But then all of a sudden 4 other people show up, and I'm like, Lucas, you're gonna have to split that bread with 4 other people now. Are all 5 of you gonna be full? No, you guys are still gonna be hungry.
Yep.
So in order for me to let you guys be full, I'm gonna have to go find more bread for you guys. But where am I gonna get this bread? Right?
That's true.
Like comparing like now to like our economies, the US and Canada, both economies are fragile as shit right now.
Mm-hmm. Especially during the pandemic and shit.
Yeah, the pandemic literally destroyed us.
Yeah.
You can be as optimistic as you want, but the truth is the pandemic destroyed us.
Yeah.
Okay?
We can't do anything about this.
Yeah. The Canadian government has already pulled so much money out of their asses to give us CRB, the wage subsidy, the student loans. We're basically broke. Okay, we're in a recession.
Yo, they're not.
You look at the U.S.
They're not pulling this money out of nowhere. Come on,
Yeah. And then you look at the U.S. Right, ignoring Trump's stupidity, they've been handing out those the stimulus checks or whatever.
Yep.
I don't know how well they're helping like businesses and everything with the financial situations, but point is, both economies are fragile.
Yeah.
And if you want to redistribute those funds for the police, like I said, you're going to have to find a way to invest more money into those social services so that they reach a level in which people are satisfied. Because if you look at private psychologists and therapists, they're already making enough. They don't need to work for the government, especially if they're only getting that redistribution from the police fund.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, what is their motive to take it? Right? So if this is the case, where is the government going to get the money from? One solution is that they can get the bank to print more money. But if they do that, then all our stuff goes up in price.
That pretty much cripples us, the economy at least.
Yeah.
Or inflate everything.
Yeah. Or they can raise our taxes.
Yep.
Right? So everything is easier said than done. I think we were talking at the picnic last time, and I was talking to Jorge, and we were basically saying like, wait until the recession's over. Like we get that these things should be done, but when you look at the economy's perspective, if we make such a big investment decision right now, I mean, yeah, it can go both ways. It could work out really well, or it can literally tank our economy completely, right? Because we're already in a recession. I think people just don't realize it because people don't really go out as much right now.
Nope.
I think that's the biggest factor right now, that no one has really gone out as much to realize that we're in a recession, right?
Yeah.
Our employment rate from Canada and the US, they're both high. And if you are redistributing the funds for the police, you can expect that when you cut the funds to the police, first off, police officers will get cut. That's going to add to the unemployment rate. Their IT communication stuff, they need a certain amount of money to maintain their capabilities or whatever.
Yep.
If you cut that money, hell, their response time is probably going to be slower.
Yeah.
And I think recently, some of the schools in America, they voted to get rid of the police that surrounds the school.
Yeah, but what's gonna happen when there's a school shooting?
School shooting, yeah.
Or
Yeah. So I think it's completely like people are taking this on a complete. Like, it's just so drastic right now. But Cindy did tell me that the police that are outside those schools, apparently they have grenade launchers.
Yo, wait.
Yeah.
wait.
It's a bit crazy. It's a bit crazy, right?
Yeah.
So like she said, like demilitarizing those police officers, which I am all for. Like, why the hell do you need a grenade launcher for a school shooting? What are you gonna do? You're gonna blow up the whole school because of one school shooter? Like, get rid of that, yes, but still have the cops. Because right now everyone is saying defund the police, screw the police. But when shit happens, who do you call? The police. Think about the Amber Alert that we actually got earlier today in Niagara. Who found the kid? The police. There was also that other thing where that 62-year-old father who had schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm.
I also think there's two sides to that story. People are literally saying how the police killed him unnecessarily. But the whole story is that the family called a non-emergency number and told them that their father was stuck inside the apartment, locked himself in, and had a weapon. The non-emergency line then told the police that same situation and to get the father out. Now, I think what happened is that if the family mentioned about the schizophrenia, maybe the non-emergency line didn't mention that. All they mentioned was that this man had a weapon.
Probably.
Because when you watch the clip and you see the police at the apartment, they're basically like in gear and with weapons, right? The police do not need to be in that, like wearing gear and everything, unless it is deemed necessary. The cops don't just randomly wear that stuff and break into people's apartments to start shooting. Okay? That shit costs money.
And like, even if he had a weapon and you're going there with full tactical gear, you're not going to make the situation de-escalate. You're just going to make it worse. Right?
Yeah, so that's why I said, like, I think there was a miscommunication on someone's end.
I read that one of the family members said that family members should be like present in that situation.
I read that too.
Yeah, I read that was ignored.
The way I see that situation is that if the person inside had a weapon, the police would not risk a civilian and bring them into a situation where they could have been harmed.
Yeah, it was a kitchen knife. You're not going to just...
Yeah, it was a kitchen knife, but like when the cops broke in, you can hear in the video that they said drop the weapon multiple times. Like, drop the knife, drop the weapon. And in terms of police protocol, I do think that if they tell you to drop the weapon and you do not drop the weapon, they have reason to shoot you.
It was
not to kill you.
time. But
No,
like,
no, no. It was more than 2 seconds. I was watching it.
was
It was a bit longer. Like they screamed it at least like 5 times to drop the weapon.
maybe 10 seconds.
Maybe, but like even then, like they have reason to shoot, but not to kill.
Yeah.
It is to shoot in non-lethal areas, like for example, maybe shoot the thigh or something.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's why retraining and training is also like important as well. But you're not going to get that if you just take away funds from police as well.
Yeah, because the whole point, like, you have to give them more money. Because I think one of the solutions that I thought of, besides from what John Tory's doing, is that you know how there's like so many different certifications out there, and then every few years you have to like retake an exam to make sure you're still qualified to hold that certification.
Yeah, police don't do that.
Yeah, so like the police, out of every career out there, the police should be the one that has to keep retaking an exam to make sure that they are mentally, physically, emotionally, and psychologically capable of doing their job.
Yep.
Right? But at the same time, I think it's not just the police. I think it's almost every social service member, including paramedics, firefighters, everyone. Because those are the jobs that are risking their lives to protect our lives. Right?
Yeah.
They need to be like on top of their game. Okay? Because I know, like, I've been looking at the project management certification. We have to retake that every 5 years, right? That's not even life-threatening, right? With the police stuff, that's life-threatening. They need to keep redoing their training nonstop. It's not just do the training and then for like 50 years, you do whatever the fuck you want because you're a cop.
But like, you know how lawyers have to be in law school for 4 years to practice law?
Yeah.
But people in police academies, they're in there for like 6 months to a year to actually like enforce the law, but a lot of them don't really know about the law.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Or I don't know how long police academy is for, but like
Apparently,
not for 4
it's
years.
not long. It's not long for America and Canada.
Yeah, it's not. It's in Europe. It is longer, and they are trained more intensely regarding this stuff. But in Canada and America, they're not really, yeah,
They're not really trained.
they're not really
And
trained that well.
yeah, and the thing is, like, people who keep asking for defund the police, I feel like these people are also trying to push for like a lawless society.
They're anarchists.
Yeah. And the main reason that I'm fully against this, just this part, is that America is literally the only country that allows people to carry guns because it's their constitutional rights.
Yeah.
So if you have a lawless society, you are literally seeing the movie Purge happening way sooner than you think.
Well, that's pretty much what happened early June as well. So
Yeah. So like, I was actually gonna say, like, the whole Black Lives Matter thing. It, from my knowledge, it started because of George Floyd. The officers got their justice, and then they moved on to other black victims like Breonna Taylor. If I remember correctly, her officer, the one that shot her, I think is fired. I don't remember, but basically, like, they're getting justice served right now, right?
yeah.
So this is like, that's one of the reasons why I think like we don't hear as much about the protests now. But the people that are still going around like taking down statues, wanting to change street names, I feel like I said earlier, like, I get you guys are angry, and you have every right to be angry.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's the most efficient way of getting something done.
No.
But at the same time, like, I'm trying my best to understand their perspective, where like you have to be angry to the point where you're destroying shit, and then people start listening to you.
Yeah, because
it's very unfortunate that it's that way.
Yeah.
Right.
No one's going to listen to you if you just like walk down the street and yell. They're just going to think.
Yeah, for sure. It's like if everyone just sent in like angry emails or letters, like, yeah, nothing's gonna get done.
Yeah.
But I feel like they should have. I mean, it's a bit hard because emotions are in play, but like, they could have destroyed to a certain extent, to a certain limit, and be like, okay, like our voices are heard, so let's like pull it back a little bit and to see whether they're gonna make a move. If they don't, then okay, like push a little bit more, right? It's strategy, right?
Yeah.
But right now, like these people who are anarchists, I personally don't even think they're like really like Black Lives Matter people.
No, they're not.
Because I think I explained this to, I forgot who I explained this to, but like I said, with all social movements, the majority are the people who are fighting for equality, right? Fight like they remember their purpose and their goal.
Yes.
But then outside of that majority, there are going to be people who are extremists and will take it to the next level. That's the whole reason why, you know, when we look at feminists, you know, I stand with the feminists, but then you have those feminazis who think that women are better than men.
Yep.
And they're constantly trying to push down men, right?
Yep,
Like there's always
equality.
yeah, that's not equality. But when you talk to like an actual feminist, they're like, oh, we just want like women to be equal to men. Like literally, that's it.
Yep.
Right? It's not one better than the other. It's the same with race. It's not that, you know, Asians are better than white people or white people better than Asians or black people. Like it's equal. That's literally the whole goal of these movements, is that people are treated differently because of stupid little things.
Yes.
I remember learning in university, one of my other majors was international development studies, and we learned a lot about developing countries, minorities, and how like the media would never really do headlines that involves minorities because it doesn't make enough money.
No, it doesn't. That's
Yeah.
why
So
it's just for ratings, really.
yeah, it's really just for ratings, and that's where I learned where these minorities, you know, not to say like it's just white people doing it, but it's also like big corporations. So I think one example they said was like the standard of living for minorities, it's usually lower because, for example, organizations like to put like their dumps in their neighborhood.
Yep.
Right. So it's like they're constantly just pushing them down, and when your standard of living is low, that's when some of these people start thinking of crime, because, you know, for example, you got no money, you got to go rob a convenience store for money, right? That's when crime goes up. So crime and poverty and all that stuff, it's all correlated, which I guess this also ties back to the whole defund the police thing, where like if you truly take away the police and all the economic impacts that I said come true, there's going to be more poverty in the world. There's going to be more crime. The wage gap is going to be even bigger than ever. It's going to destroy all of us.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know how turbulent this episode has been, because I feel like there's so much stuff to talk about and I keep jumping back and forth.
I mean, well, it's not really back and forth. We're still on the same topic.
That's
It's just it's
okay.
just
So
a
this is
very
like the
big
least
topic.
turbulent episode
It's just
that we've ever had.
yeah, it's just a very big topic when there's so much to talk about.
There is.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know if you've seen like all the stuff about like people saying like one injustice is better than the other, or like more important. Like when Black Lives Matter started, all the Asians were saying like, oh, what about Asian racism or whatever? Like, you know, they were racist to us when COVID hit. And it's like,
Not the point.
yeah, like it's not the point. But and it's also like, when it was happening, you guys all had a chance to say something.
Yeah.
You all had a chance to stand up for it. You all had a chance to do something, but none of you did.
No one did.
And now that the black people got the balls to stand up to do something, you guys are jealous?
Mm-hmm.
Sit back down, bitch. Like that stuff like really like pissed me off. Like it's the same with people also brought up the whole Hong Kong China situation, right? And for me it's like, yo, I'm Hong Kong. I support Hong Kong and their fight for freedom. I live in America. I support Black Lives Matter because we're all minorities here, right?
Yes.
It's not saying one issue is more important than the other, right? Like I get some issues can be more personal. So for example, like the Hong Kong situation is more personal to me, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to say that is more important than Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you're able to support both. So just do it. Just support both. Support all the injustices in the world, right? Philippines had their own junk terror bill. Palestine has their issues. Was it Yemen? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yemen. Is it?
Yemen.
Okay, well there is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but you guys know what we're talking about. Like they're having the biggest humanitarian crisis in the world right now.
Yeah.
Right. But guess what? The U.S. headlines will never talk about it because they are minorities.
Nope.
Think about how much headlines talked about the Hong Kong situation. Not much. Even if there was, it was literally one day and it was gone.
Yeah. Maybe 2 days probably.
Yeah, like maybe like a few days. But for Black Lives Matter, I think people talked more about it because it was in America, which I get. It's like kind of like a media bias kind of thing. Um, but yeah, point is like there's no injustice that's greater than the other. You know, all injustice is injustice. Okay, injustice is not specific to race or ethnicity or gender or anything.
Nope.
It is just plain injustice. And like I said, if you are going to support one and ignore the other, you are just as ignorant as those who are silent about oppression. Because LeBron James did the exact same thing. And I'm going to call him out right now.
Yo, LeBron James ain't gonna listen, but yeah.
I don't care if he listens or not, because this guy, he started a nonprofit for the Black community, which is great. That's a really good thing for him to do. I fully support it. But he was also the same person that was silent when he was asked about China's oppression. And I think some people even said like he voiced his support for China's oppression.
I don't think that's what he said. It was a reply to Daryl Morey's tweet.
It was something about that. And no, because like I remember he said something about like, you know, I'm not at the liberty to like talk about that because he doesn't know as much or something, right?
Yeah. Something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
misinformed.
But even
or
yeah.
not informed as much.
Or was he saying like people were not as informed about the situation?
No, it was just it was the guy who tweeted Stand for Hong Kong and got his tweet removed. That was what he was saying towards. But yeah, go on.
Oh. But yeah, like either way though, like LeBron was basically silent about it when he was asked about it.
Yep.
Right? So I saw this article on Twitter and that's why I was like writing like, yo, like I'm glad you're doing something for the Black community because that's great because that like, you know, they need it right now. But weren't you the same person that was silent about like Hong Kong injustice? And a lot of people commented and they were like, literally, they were all saying the same thing. They were like, yo, LeBron only does whatever like financially benefits him.
Well, it's
Which
also
is
because some of these players are forced to say that stuff.
there's that too.
Yeah, even James Harden, who was part of Houston Rockets,
He supported China.
No, yeah, but you could tell he said, "No, we love China," but like he said it in like a forced tone or whatever.
I can imagine it'd be forced because next time they go back to China, they might disappear for good.
Probably, actually, you know what? Maybe, or someone forced them to say it, but whatever.
Yeah, but even then, like it makes people judge them and their moral flaws.
Yeah,
right? Like, I had to deal with some extreme people on Twitter who claimed that they were for Black Lives Matter, but they were also the same people who were using racism towards me as an Asian to try to fight against racial injustice against the Black people. And when I saw, like, I didn't even comment anymore because I was done. I was actually laughing too because I'm like, you guys are literally fighting for racial injustice and you're trying to get rid of it. You're fighting for justice and all that stuff, but you're doing it by being racist to another minority who's actually supporting you guys.
yeah.
So I'm just like, it's so hypocritical. And obviously, I'm not saying like these guys represent Black Lives Matter. I'm pretty sure these guys are like the 0.1% of Black Lives Matter that are like a bit more to the extreme. Because even one of them was like, fuck Hong Kong, fuck China. I live in America, man. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't mean you can't support anything else. I even asked them, I'm like, what about, you know, the shit that's happening in Yemen, Palestine, Philippines, and all that? And he's like, fuck all of them. And I'm like, wow. Wow. Like, I had no comment for this guy.
Wait, wasn't there a tweet that said, "I don't even care about Black Lives Matters" or whatever?
Oh yeah, there was a dude. Okay, I don't know if this guy was like a Twitter bot or anything.
It's probably a troll, but
he kept going like, oh, China's gonna be part of Hong Kong anyways. I don't even care about Black Lives Matter. And I'm like, why are you commenting then? I'm literally talking about stuff that you don't care about. Then why are you talking? I'm like, why?
why do you do this?
I know, like it's so stupid. But anyway, I think that was like majority of my rant. I mean, like a little bonus thing, like The Simpsons and Family Guy. The people that voice like Apu on Simpsons and Cleveland on Family Guy, they were white actors and they decided to step down to let people of color voice them.
Yeah.
I think this was a nice gesture.
It's a win.
Yeah, it's a win, but at the same time, like some people are like, I mean, it's a cartoon. Like, does it really matter?
It's a win, but at the same time, I didn't even know that they were like white or whatever.
No, not a lot of people knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, like it's a good gesture.
Yeah.
I do hope they do find someone like, a person of color to voice those characters. But it's funny. Some people were saying like, "What about Simpsons? Like, are you gonna get yellow people to voice all the Simpsons?"
Yo, I saw that too. No, but at the
I'm
same
like,
time,
true?
if you get someone like an Indian immigrant to voice Apu, is that appropriating that character, or is that like
That's also true. See, that's
Yeah,
that's the thing.
that's the problem. You can't have one and then have the other and just complain about both.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, I feel like you just can't please everyone, and everyone's gonna find a reason to complain, no matter what.
Yeah, it's like if I get like a black person or Indian immigrant to voice, the producers would be, have
They'll be the ones
backlash.
that are being attacked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, why are you guys like appropriating these stereotypes?
Yeah, you want to be inclusive, but you also don't want to be attacked. If you be inclusive,
Yeah.
you will be attacked. So
Yeah.
you're winning, but you're also not winning.
Yeah. Like and then that's when the cancel culture comes in too.
Yeah.
I can't deal with the cancel culture, man.
No, I can't.
Like at the end of the day, like we live in a democracy. People are definitely entitled to what they think and what they want to say. I think rather than condemning people for saying something that doesn't go with society, you can educate them or just walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Your life is not going to be affected that much by what someone says to you.
No,
Obviously, like if it's like racist and hateful towards you, obviously do something about it. But like if it's like, I think there was a mayor in like a little town in Ontario. He said he's not going to put up the LGBTQ flag during Pride Month because he says that, in his opinion, the LGBT community will not be able to produce offspring. He spoke a different opinion. Doesn't mean that he's being hateful towards LGBTQ people.
No.
Like, he's not saying like, fuck all these people, I'm not putting it up, fuck them. No, he's literally just saying, based on what he knows, he doesn't think that they can produce offspring, so he doesn't feel the need to put the flag up. Because whether you're like LGBTQ or a minority, like we've all had to deal with oppression, discrimination, maybe at different levels, but at the end of the day, it's still part of that bubble, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And even though we may not fully understand what their level is, we can try our best to.
No.
And I guess to wrap up this whole rant of an episode,
It was an hour rant. Holy.
I know. Trust me, I've been seeing so much of it. That's why I got really annoyed.
You've been
just
going through so much this past week. It was so entertaining.
Oh yeah. I was literally sending Lucas all of these tweets. I'm like, oh my god, what is wrong with these people, man?
I'll wake up to a Russell twins like, oh man.
But anyways, to wrap up everything, and I hope this is something that everyone can take away, is that there are always two sides to the story. If not two, then 3 or 4 or however many you want. A story is never black and white. Okay, before any of you jump on to be a keyboard warrior, please try to understand every side of the story.
Just don't be a keyboard
Some
warrior.
side, yeah.
Be a real
And
warrior.
you know what?
Join the Warriors.
Oh my god.
Just go.
You made me lose our train of thought. Now think about warriors.
What is this, the Avatar?
Just be the avatar, okay? Master everything and be at ease, okay? Be in a peace of mind.
Yeah.
And I get when people say it's a privilege for us to take a step back and not look at this news. I get it. But one thing that Jordan Peterson, a brilliant psychology professor at U of T, did teach was that if we want true change, we must focus on ourselves first before we are able to produce that change externally.
Is that a
Right.
psychology quote, or is that just not common sense?
It's like from psychology, because you know how a lot of people like try to like do good stuff without like fixing up their own lives first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's literally just a quote basically reminding people that if you really want to change the world or change anything, you guys have to focus on yourself. Change the self first before going towards external.
True.
Yeah, just be better as people, because at the end of the day, it's not just the black race, the Asian race, or whatever. We are just one race. We're the human race. So let's work towards that, okay? Just everyone find the middle ground. Be kind to one another. Be compassionate. Be understanding. Yes.
Yeah.
We are all about positivity here, even though I was ranting pretty negatively about shit, but
Whatever. It's fine.
but the whole point is for all of us to be positive.
you
in
have
this
to
world.
be negative in order to be positive.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Find your balance. And good night.
Good night, or morning, or good afternoon.
Good evening. Good night. Goodbye.
Yeah, good night. Bye.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to the Sad Boy Podcast.
Please remember to subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and have a nice day, I guess.
Yeah, stay sad or happy.
Yeah,
Sad,
happy.
sad,
Sad
happy.
boy.
Sad Boy Podcast.
Sad Boy Podcast. Good night.